You know the feeling when you open your phone and suddenly it feels like social media has gotten louder overnight? Like every platform decided to roll out something new at the same time? Everyone has an opinion about it, and somehow you're supposed to not only understand all of it, but also immediately react. If the past few weeks have felt like that, you're not imagining it. There really have been a lot of updates, a lot of headlines, and a lot of you need to know this right now energy floating around. And honestly, that kind of environment can make even the most grounded creators and business owners feel like they're already behind the eight ball before they even started their day. And what I keep hearing over and over and over is the same question, sometimes asked out loud and sometimes just sitting in the back of somebody's head. What actually matters right now, and what can I safely ignore without breaking my entire strategy? So, because here's the thing, not every update deserves your attention, and definitely not every update deserves a reaction. A lot of what we're seeing right now is incremental, experimental, or designed for a very specific type of user, not everyone. But when updates stack up on top of each other without context, they start to feel urgent, right? Even when they're not. This is why I think perspective matters so much more than speed. When you zoom out and you look at the past weeks alongside with others been happening over the past month, something really is interesting. It starts to happen. Instead of seeing chaos, you start to see patterns. And once you see patterns, the noise get quieter. So let's talk through what actually changed, but most importantly, what is quietly confirming. So this past week alone, we saw Substack announce a TV app, which on the surface might feel like just another feature, but when you sit with it for a minute, it's really a signal that long form content is continuing to move into relaxed living room style consumption. We also saw TikTok have a pretty rough weekend last week, with comments and For You pages acting up, which naturally send people spiraling into the worst case scenarios until TikTok confirmed it was likely a power outage at a US data center, not a data breach. And now most users are saying things feel like they're back to normal again. At the same time, Meta is preparing to test premium subscriptions across Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Edits rolled out a handful of updates that make creation smoother instead of louder. And LinkedIn added a new generative AI qualification. Instagram's had very publicly reminded creators that the best posting schedule is the one that you can actually sustain without burning yourself out. And that last part matters because someone in the position says they'd rather you post twice a week for 2 years than every day for 2 months than disappear. That's just not reassurance, that's direction. Now, if we widen this lens and look at the past month as a whole, the directions become even clearer. On X, there's been a noticeable shift towards rewarding writing, depth, and discovery. From $1 million incentive for long form articles to features that help people find creators aligned with their interests and improvements to private chat experiences. Threads is slowly defining itself just not as a feed, but as a space where private, low pressure interactions matter, especially with experiments happening inside direct messaging. Instagram is leading hard into control and transparency, giving users more to say over their algorithm and reframing connections as intentional rather than passive. TikTok, beyond trends and advertising, quietly rolled out accessibility features and acknowledged not everyone's experienced content the same way. YouTube is loosening rigid rules around how content has to look and behave, testing still images inside shorts and prioritizing clarity over constant motion. And Snapchat is making creation now even faster, which actually raises the bar because when everyone can post quickly, thoughtfulness is what stands out. And there's this bigger, quieter signal that didn't even come from a platform update. HubSpot released a B2B marketing guide centered around Reddit, which might sound niche at first, but it actually says a lot about where trust lives right now. People trust communities more than campaigns. They trust conversations more than they do polished messaging. And they trust spaces where brands show up to listen, not to control. That same idea shows up when you look at how much emphasis platforms are putting on private interactions these days. Public likes and comments still exist, but they're no longer the whole story. DMs are where questions get asked without fear, and they're where trust builds slowly. They're where buying decisions often start long before anyone leaves a public comment. So if your strategy is only measured by what you can see, it's probably missing where the relationships are going to be forming. And this is where I think the biggest takeaway lives. All of these updates across all the platforms are quietly rewarding the same thing: sustainability, clarity, and the human experience. Not louder content, not more content, just more thoughtful content. So the question isn't how often I should post anymore. The real question is whether what you're posting and putting out respects attention, accessibility, and trust. Because brands and creators who understand that shift aren't just going to keep up, they're going to build something that actually lasts. So the question is, will you take a step back and reevaluate posting strategy on Instagram this week? Or will you be posting as usual?